We are in the dog days of summer, training camps afoot, and you know there's still drafting we have to do here on Splash Play with new drafts every Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m. Today's another half-point PPR draft in the world of Best Ball Mania 5, and of course, I am already in a draft room here, and I'm picking in the one hole. I'm very influential today, even though my influence is agony. My life is agony as of last night, but I'll talk to you guys about that in a minute here. Let's talk about preseason news, though, and of course, we know we're going to pick here. I would like to get my Christian McCaffrey exposure up, but 7% of him right now. This will put me closer to 8%, and BBM number 82 for me on the year. So Christian McCaffrey, let's not overthink it. We're over the field on CeeDee Lamb, over on Tyreek, over on Jefferson, over on Amon-Ra, even close enough on Chase. So McCaffrey, you got to even up on. So Hero RB build afoot today. Hero RB Monday is in play. Preseason news, James Cook missed practice over the weekend for personal reasons. Ty Johnson and Ray Davis split the workload evenly without him. And Ray Davis, I think, is one to really watch as a riser here. I've liked him a lot. I think I've got close to 20% of them. Actually, let me double check that real fast here because I think it is important. I've been going heavy on Ray Davis and feeling good about where he's going to end up. Ray Davis, 15% Ray Davis for me. So right now, he's got an ADP of 165. I moved him up to 156 in my rankings over the weekend. I think he's coming up, and frankly, the mid-150s. Wouldn't shock me to see that come higher in a little bit later in August, I would say, if not the next few weeks. Other preseason news, though, about Ray Davis. So mentioned as a power back already for Buffalo. So potentially him filling in for James Cook. He's got standalone value potentially as a power back. Contingent value filling in for James Cook. I think Ray Davis has quietly got both sides of that as well as anybody, I guess, that we talk about in terms of the young guys, the Audric Estimes, the Bucky Irving. So I would say Ray Davis should be more of a priority for you guys if you haven't grabbed him yet. Brian Thomas Jr. has looked good so far this morning, but overall reports that he's looking like the fourth option in the passing game so far based on the usage, based on him not starting that well either at camp. So two things that are not great for Brian Thomas is a better way to say that. Either way, though, he's obviously behind Kirk, behind Ingram, and seemingly behind Gabe Davis as well. Has been involved in the red zone, getting decent work. They paid Gabe Davis big money. I don't think it's a surprise to see Brian Thomas behind Gabe Davis right now. Gabe Davis is a vet who just got paid. Brian Thomas is coming in. Is not a great target earner. Going to be a little bit more raw. So nothing shocking there, but I do think that potentially puts Brian Thomas's ADP maybe closer to the 80s. We'll see how that goes. Pittman, Downs, Pierce, and A.D. Mitchell all rotating with the Indianapolis first-team wide receivers. So you make your bet on any of those guys and feel decent about it. Still would expect that Mitchell can unseat Pierce over the course of time. If you're dead in the water, you have AR, you want to get the double stack. I do think taking Pierce in round 18, round 20-ish on DraftKings would be fine there as well. Josh Downs getting the best reviews at camp so far, though. He's been talked up by Chris Ballard, the GM. Coach Begin Next has been on this one a good amount. Talked about Ballard likes him. Coaches like him. Downs having a good camp. All of it kind of blends together, along with the fact last year AR and Downs were roommates. I don't know if they are in camp this year, but they have that connection. Tight end for the Colts is one to watch out for. I've warned you guys a little bit about Jelani Woods, a guy that I was in on last year early on. Then he got hurt, was worried about him coming back in, ended up being right, not taking any more shares of him. This year, Granson and Ogletree getting the first crack at tight end. So as I've said from day one, Will Mallory has also been in the mix for the first string tight end. I'm sure Jelani Woods is getting some reps there. It's at least a 4-person tight end room, if not 5 if they keep Wiley Cox. So I would say making bets on Woods is like your go-to in an Indianapolis stacks. Probably not be the move for me. Check the chats real fast. We got some GMs. All right, so we're just going to keep going through news here. We got Chase Brown. Chase Brown, another guy I've been packing bags for since the big board. Chase Brown getting the majority of RB1 reps is the exact quote with the Bengals so far. Still a good shot. Zach Moss takes the goal line work away. Pass protection, we need a slightly sturdier back. That's all in the mix. But Chase Brown getting big work is in play if he's going to get the lion's share of snaps out there. And this is going to be an offense as well that uses the running backs well in the pass game. That's been a big focus for them so far in camp. And who knows, with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and their various contract issues, maybe they're just not full go as often. Maybe they're asking out of games a little bit more. There's real opportunity for Chase Brown. I think he should be priced closer to that Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears range. I think flatten out Zach Moss and him there would be where I think ADP should go. But we'll see how that works with the markets. A guy I don't like very much, but have to be honest about it. Great camp day for Roman Wilson. Fields targeting him more. Russ still silent with a calf strain, though should be back in apparently at some point this week, it looks like. Picks coming up here, so let's talk more about the rest of the news in a moment. All right, we got Ayuk coming back, which is not a bad thing, obviously. Mike Evans also here, basically right at ADP, so nothing too discounty there. I'll go Ayuk here. I think I'm going to go play this one pretty standard right now. So we got to make it up a receiver. Ayuk coming down a little bit. We'll take him at 24. Discount even on his falling ADP. And Mike Evans, not my favorite player in the world. Kind of works a little bit better with some other builds. His neighbor is going to come up. Would be the one thing. Having a good enough camp. Bad reviews for Daniel Jones, though, overall. I mean, it's obviously a receiver for me no matter what. All right. We'll go Evans. Feels like there's been a lot more camp steam for Chris Godwin and for Jalen McMillan than there's been for Mike Evans. So that'd be my concern point, really, in terms of taking Evans right now at ADP. As I've said, I do think Evans should probably be priced more like late 20s. I would say maybe even early 30s. I think with his age, new offense there, having Liam Cohen is more of a check down guy. Do you think there's a little bit of risk for Mike Evans' workload overall? But anyway, we'll take him here, get the exposure up a little bit. Being with the field on Mike Evans, I think, would be the logical thing to do, given a single game upside. Speaking of the Bucks, Bucky Irving, another one. These are not all like confirming my priors, though obviously I am keeping a closer eye on things that I have a lot of bags for. Bucky Irving already in the mix with the first team, looking good in practice so far, getting some quality swing passes. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Him being in the mix at all at the first team, honestly, I wouldn't have thought was a guaranteed thing at all, even though I believed a lot in Bucky's talent. So I think things look good enough for him. Obviously, he's not supplanting Rachaad White yet, which I feel like is what people need to see for him to rise more in ADP. But he shouldn't rise as much as Ray Davis, but he should probably be going, I think, in the 160 range is where I've had him for a while. That to me is the Bucky Irving price tag. We'll see. Zach Moss to the moon. Really? Zach Moss to the moon? I feel like all the signal right now is Chase Brown friendly, but I think the touchdown work being there for Zach Moss, that's still there. And Bucky seems like good value. Can't believe he still goes so late. He's little. I think that spooks people off. But again, he's in the mix. He's getting quality touches. Maybe he won't be in there for pass protection. But he'd be one of those guys that just gets fed the ball like 60% of his snaps because they know what he means in terms of the explosiveness, in terms of the upside, in terms of the juice and all that. That's where you do see Bucky Irving, I think, be able to be a guy that's going to be schemed touches right away. And that's really what we want. We want guys who have special talents and get scheme touches. We also want them to be on the field as much as possible, but getting scheme touches in your, whatever share you get of routes, of snaps and all that, that's what we want to see. Little and not fast, but shifty AF. He's faster than it seems, but he's not straight line speed fast for sure. And Bucky doesn't have the size to be a workhorse, but he's talented enough to make an impact on a limited workload. That's what I would believe for him. I think he's not quite as much of a bet as like Marshawn Lloyd, where I think Marshawn Lloyd can take over that backfield. I don't think Bucky can take over that backfield, but I think he can be Jahmyr Gibbs in that backfield, which would be great. Isaiah Likely looking good in camp. Team is highly aware they need to use more 12 personnel with him. That's been the report for a while. No surprise there, but it is something, again, being quoted again in an article on The Athletic. Thought that was important to note here. Likely, to me, still feels better in a 3 tight end build. Think he's in the mix for some value, but definitely the biggest play for him is still contingent value. Vanders were to go down. Jalen McMillan, popular target of Baker Mayfield so far in camp, included a TD this morning as of today. McMillan looks good enough. I still think a bet on McMillan is one where you have to expect one of Godwin or Evans to fail. So I'd be unlikely to triple stack those guys with the Bucks. I guess it could hit. It would be then basically saying that Liam Cohen is making this Bucks offense better than Dave Canales did. I find that hard to believe personally. So that's where I tend to think McMillan's going to have enough upside to pay off really. He could still pay off at his ADP with some spike weeks, but I think in terms of him being a regular threat for you to have the upside over the course of a year, I feel like it has to be in a lineup without one of Evans or Godwin, maybe even both. Just a bet that one of them fails, falters, comes back down to earth, or really doesn't pay off at ADP. Javon Baker looking solid, working with the second and third teams primarily, though. Felt like that was just New England looking for a bright side, and people ask a lot of questions about Javon Baker. So he's in the mix. He's doing what he's got to do. Still feels like he's got a lot of blockers keeping him behind. Juju Smith-Schuster also looking bad at camp. KJ Osborne looking mostly useless in camp. They didn't sign him to be a pass catcher, really. They signed him to be a guy that could be out there running routes and blocking a lot of the time with some quality. So that doesn't keep Osborne off the field, but a lot of things going on in the slot, including Pop Douglas starting banged up. The slot role, I think, is very much undefined there. And that's where Baker could theoretically win, just, given the fact that Juju's got no juice, that KJ Osborne's got no juice, and that Pop Douglas is hurt. I think Baker can get on the field in the slot, maybe, but he's a thin play to me. I think he should be, if Tez Walker is falling, Javon Baker should be falling to the 200s as well. We got Jonathan Mingo looking like the quote-unquote, and this is not my quote, best offensive player at Panthers camp. Surprised to hear that. He was awful last year, though. Really nowhere to go but up. I still think he is competing against the new draft capital for Xavier Leggett. Obviously, a new regime as well with Dave Canales coming in. You still have Thielen. You have Deontay Johnson being a core part of what they're going to do. And Deontay is looking good as well. But it does seem like Mingo has acquitted himself well enough that if you're completely dead at stacks, maybe you take Mingo and Bryce Young late, 17th, 18th round. I think that'd be okay. Won't fall for the Mingo hype again. I was really down on him last year, so I'm willing to fall for the hype more this year. Felt like the hype was incorrect last year based on how he played in college. Now you get one more year of seasoning, year 1 to year 2 leap, and then just the hope of a better offense with Dave Canales. If he's playing well, he's going to get scheme touches. So that's sort of the Dave Canales way. All right, so got Dallas, Carolina stuff, Miami, Detroit stuff as bringbacks. Nothing here we really want to go out of our way to get. Christian Kirk still feels pretty cozy to me, adding him on top of this build for sure. Wide receiver 3. Again, we're trying to make it up at receiver a little bit more. And then correlation-wise here, if we get Carolina stuff later on, Trey McBride would end up being a little bit more valuable because then we would have Evans correlated with Carolina, McBride correlated with Carolina in week 16. McLaurin would be fun. Andrews, I can make up a little bit more at Andrews, but I am going to go McBride here. McBride has now passed Andrews safely in ADP, or stayed ahead of Andrews in ADP when Andrews is kind of coming for him for a while. So I'm happy to have more than 2x the field on McBride. I guess I feel like he's due for one more surge, but maybe not. Honestly, he could be going the other way. Last news item I have on my sheet here, Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen sharing first team work for the Rams tight end 1. Hunter Long also working with the first team. The goal for the team, which is actually a league-wide trend, which is interesting given that I did call this out for the Raiders earlier on. A lot of teams want to run more 12 and 13 personnel to kind of mask things better because they have enough pass catchers they believe at tight end that can do stuff. The Rams as well with the new tight end coach. That's a goal of theirs. They still obviously point out in the article, it's a feature article on The Athletic talking about the new tight end coach. Do point out that the team is still going to be one. There's a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. When you have 3 receiver sets, you're going to have mostly 11 personnel, 1 tight end in there. But that said, it seems like the Rams tight end situation cuts into Demarcus Robinson's role a little bit potentially. Wouldn't spook me off of Robinson, but if they run more 12 personnel, you probably see less Robinson. That's not a great thing. Stafford also had a quote too, talking about how he's going to feed Kupp and Puka Nacua really well this year. Wasn't really enough to make a news item, but was something I heard. Show guy Tyler here. Appreciate him being in the mix. Is it crazy that Juju was a second-round pick a few years ago? It's tough. I mean, the injuries accumulating, never a good thing for a guy. He's also never been the most explosive player. Obviously, his Pittsburgh role kind of portended that. KC used him a little bit more downfield, but then when he went back to New England here, it's just, again, same thing, close to the line of scrimmage, not a lot of upside for him. I think he speaks to more what the limited shelf life is for slot guys. It's just so easy to bring in another slot guy that's better, that's got more juice, different sizes there as well, where Juju's got decent size on him, but you could have a 5'6" guy playing slot, and he could be okay and get you some production. You just have the ability to put more guys in that role, I think, and that's where it's tough. If you get older, you lose some juice, and Juju too, not big enough money to make teams really justify forcing him in. So I don't know, maybe he gets cut. If he gets cut, I don't know if he gets another job. If he got another job, it'd be filling in for injury for somebody that just needs depth, if I had to guess. 11% Mingo on the big board, not dead. I mean, depends where you got it, but I mean, he was basically free in the big board as well. So if you're getting 19th, 20th round Mingo, I don't think it's bad. But I think it's still unlikely for him. He's got to beat out Leggett now. Leggett does have the hamstring stuff, which could accumulate over the course of time. Starting with soft tissue injuries early in the offseason, never a good thing for a guy. But I think Mingo mostly dead, but him looking like the best guy in camp, you got to note it. It's not the most fun thing to note, but you do have to note it. All right, guys, if you're watching live here, we know it's Monday where I get my dick kicked in by Pete Overs. That's Monster Stream. Of course, the circus is in town on Mondays. Hopefully it doesn't expand to more days. I did hear him say that. So please save us for the Pete Overs at Juggernaut. Of course, I do drafts here every Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m. So your support goes a long way. As a sole proprietor here, hit the like button and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're watching. That's for fact. I appreciate it all here. Of course, you can tell. Hopefully, I do my best to prepare before the streams. Hop on here. Have the info ready. Of course, my data that I use, the Best Ball Overlay tool, you can see on the screen as well. Big part of my process now. Check that out at bestballoverlay.com. But appreciate you guys being here, and please hit that like button and subscribe if you can. All right, we got a 0-1-3-1 build here. We got Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, elite tight end with Trey McBride. A start that feels pretty good. A little bit of a value on Trey McBride, a little bit of a value on Christian Kirk. little bit of a value of Brandon Ayuk. Don't know if that makes us too unique yet, but a little bit more unique. Was really hoping to get Deontay Johnson back at 72, but he's coming up just enough to the late 60s. He and Christian Watson both feel like they could make a move to the early 60s, where Keenan Allen falls to in this room. But I think these guys coming up a little bit more wouldn't shock me. Mixon falling, I don't agree with, but definitely a value I would snap up in the late 60s, early 70s if you can get it. Pause, Pete, for the stream. You are welcome. That guy, I appreciate the support. You know, you'll get more personalized attention here because I don't have hundreds of people watching live. I get dozens. So you get personalized. It's like going to a private school versus a big public school, big public university. Here, you know, I'll pay attention to you. I'll give you feedback. I'll yell at you personally. All the things you look for. All right, a little bit of a fall on Odunze. I think just the continuing to scoop everybody who falls move is not a thing I mind too much. So Odunze is going to be one of the picks here. Second pick, we can go Oppo correlation to the Romo Odunze with JSN. Kenneth Walker could add another RB, even though I'm not crazy about that. Can get the semi-elite tight end with Kyler. Really wish that Deontay Johnson had come back. I think this would have made this a lot easier for me to navigate. But I'd like to keep increasing my JSN. At some point, wouldn't mind more Alvin Kamara. He's probably coming up enough that I'm just going to have to get him at an elevated cost. Kyler. I hate reaching for Kyler this much. You can get Kyler falling enough in rooms. I'll go JSN. So Oppo correlation for Chicago, Seattle here. Didn't get our Carolina player to correlate with Trey McBride in week 16 and Mike Evans in week 17, but we got some good stuff here. It's a 0-1-5-1 build. Hit our 5 receivers through the first 75 picks, which should be your goal in pretty much every draft. Christian McCaffrey is the hero RB. Pick it at the 101. Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Romo Odunze, JSN, and then Trey McBride is our elite tight end. So we have theoretical early season production for these guys. Odunze, JSN can come on a little bit later or be good from week 1, hopefully. I think the way this team is built works well, and obviously having CMC as the RB, never going to be an issue for me. And David Montgomery goes at 68 here, so it wasn't even a temptation for him to come back. Made a game stack that one. We talked about Lambeau Ladd yet. I didn't really think that was worth a news item, but he's been looking good at camp. Caught a touchdown, but it's just not that impressive. I see Ladd make the plays. Like that touchdown play was like a 30-yard touchdown from Herbert. And it was just like Ladd got open and didn't really jump. Like he had like a little jump to do it. I don't know. He's playing well. He seems like he's the wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. So I won't let my personal biases in the eyeball test come in. What's Wasp been doing in camp? These guys overall haven't had a lot of great practices because they had Sean Clifford thrown to him a lot last week. So Love came in with the new deal over the weekend. I think you'll see more positive camp reports, but I didn't see anything about Watson specifically in that last time out. Saw like Wicks was catching some passes from Love. I think Reed caught a few. Yeah, I don't think I saw it. And actually, I think I saw Dobbs. I didn't see anything about Watson. Watson's fine. We don't really need signal for Watson at this point besides, him running with the first team. I was fading Kamara early too, but I'm going to be grabbing more of them. Seems locked into a large, inefficient workload. That's a fair way to look at it. You do have Jamal Williams there, maybe taking something away. But I think that Kamara is probably an okay pick at this point. To me, he should be around maybe this Mixon range, and I'll just grab him to defer some of my Mixon and Montgomery exposure coming up. Would have been nice to take him more as a value, but I really thought there was reason to have concern about him. Him holding out a mini camp for the one day, if he held out of training camp, would have been really bad for him because he's just got no leverage. The irony is now because of Kendre Miller getting hurt and the negative coach speak, Kamara's probably created more leverage for himself through Kendre Miller's fuck-ups. So maybe Kamara does get some sort of refined deal, but he's playing without one. He's in camp without one, so I don't know that he's actually going to get a refined deal or a renegotiated deal like Amari Cooper got, like Stafford got, where they create some new money. Herbert plus Ladd plus Palmer feels cozy, takes the guesswork out of it, feels like he can capture 56%. Yeah, but how much of the team's targets are there going to be? Look, I'm not a Chargers guy. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I think it's going to be really ugly. I do, tend to move away from teams that, I just don't think the pass production matches the prices. For Ladd, the price tag's okay enough. Herbert, the price tag's okay enough. I think they're priced where their production is going to be, though. I just don't see this being a team that's throwing for 300 yards too often. Honestly, I'd say less than 4 times in the year, if I had to guess. I need the Packers to run 10 personnel 70% of the time for their receivers to all pay off. And no tight ends on the field for them, even though they also have 2 tight ends they want to play. You're probably still, I mean, it's what we've talked about. It's the top 3 there, and Wicks is probably a contingent play for one of those guys not getting there between Watson, between Dobbs, between Jaden Reed. Jonathan Brooks coming down a little bit. Jake Ferguson again. When you reach for Ferguson in the 60s, keep in mind, this is now twice in the last week we've seen Jake Ferguson go at 94. All right, Curtis Samuel's here. We've made up pretty well at RB, though. No correlation with Jaden right now. No correlation with Dak. No correlation with Burrow. I think Zach Moss at this spot feels okay. Does he feel okay? Yeah, he's fine. A little bit after ADP, he's coming down. There's a point he was going late 80s. We'll take Zach Moss here at 96. And I'm pretty well represented for all these guys. Really want to get the Jaden share down. I think we're in range to be safe with Jaden, and we just haven't built out a Jaden bet in any real way. Could build out more for Seattle, I suppose. Take another receiver there, but that feels kind of dumb when we can solidify RB a little bit more. I'll get Pollard. I'll get Pollard. I think I got that click in. Not the most excited for Pollard at this point, reaching for him at 97. His price tag's coming down, obviously, with the work. The signal so far from the team, that's basically going to be a 2-man backfield there, splitting the workload. That said, I think he's still in the mix enough. Tony Pollard looking good in camp. They're hyping up him as a pass catcher in camp as well, which is borderline a newsy enough item to have included in today's stuff up top. So we'll take Pollard. So we have Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard. Good 3 RB start here. Got our 5 receivers in the first 75 picks with Ayuk, Evans, Christian Kirk, Romo Dunze, JSN, and Trey McBride here is our elite tight end. So I think we're good at most positions. Obviously have to stick QB. Not going Jaden there, a little bit tough for me. But I really want my Jaden bets to be concentrated or value-based bets at this point with how much I have them. As I'm going to have them at 33% is where I'll settle for my final exposures. But I do want that last, few times I take him at this point for Jayden Daniels. One of my last times I take him to be really the most potent possible times, ideally. If he comes up, he's been looking great in camp. It's really weird. Like, a lot of my guys are getting positive steam. A lot of guys I planted flags for back in the big board in January, definitely more so after the NFL draft where we knew where guys are going. A lot of these guys are starting to move up and have the positive signal that's going to lead to them surging. I feel like Jaden in Washington is like surge proof. We have McLaurin getting good work. Dotson's catching TDs. Jaden's running for big plays that are on video, that are going on social and going semi-viral. And Jaden just doesn't move up. He goes 106 here. I just don't get it. I think people have a real Jaden bias, and I think it's one of the worst blind spots that I've seen in the terms of the market so far. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm biased the other way for Jaden, but he's just such a strong play, man. Too cheap. Trust me, as a Ravens fan, I have a plethora of Greg Roman scars. Yeah, like I get it. I mean, then and you know the deal. I don't know. Greg Roman's also one of those guys too, where when Mike McCarthy came back in the league, he had kind of done a mea culpa on the approach of like, hey, I studied analytics. He was working with the 33rd team guys. Like he at least tried to show like, I'm trying to learn more and get more with the times rather than just being a boomer coach that's going to run the ball a lot. And he did actually adapt and do that. Like it seemed initially like him just trying to position himself to get a job, like you or I changing our LinkedIn page to put in a few special skills or something. That's what it seemed like initially with McCarthy. But then that first year he was coach, they were running less, passing the ball more, high pass rate team. Last year they brought in Brian Schottenheimer, were going to run the ball more, didn't get success, then went back to being a high pass rate team. That's a guy that like changed his approach, and he saw the signal from him changing his approach. Greg Roman, there's been no signal about him changing his approach. Like there's they've talked about we're going to mash guys, offensive linemen are weapons just as much as receivers are. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the reason to buy in on the Chargers really is if we're going to go with just knowing what we know of Greg Roman. That was a very frustrating offense, as Baltimore fans may know, and people who played fantasy and actually paid close attention would know. Those Roman offenses were great for the running backs, great for Lamar, great for Andrews, great for feeding the tight end. Everything else was not the best time to try to target and make work. That's why naked Lamar was a thing for so many years. It wasn't just that Lamar was such a great rusher. It was that he was creating no pass game production for anybody to take with him in a stack. And now we're going to the Chargers and we're going, yeah, like all these guys look great in stacks. I struggle with that. Still could take some, but I struggle with it in terms of a personal take. Herbert, Lamar, pretty different stylistically as QBs. Yeah, but so's, I mean, Colin Kaepernick would be more of a Lamar type, but the game flow looked pretty similar to Lamar there. I mean, look, I don't think Herbert's going to run 10 times a game, but I do think there's going to be a lot of RPO kind of stuff and not big plays and not trying to force it downfield, letting the team take little chunk plays, get in a position to kick field goals, get in position to run in touchdowns. I don't see the biggest upside personally, but you got to make stands somewhere. If you don't agree with that stand, I apologize. Bindles looking squirt me squad. There we go. Squirt on Bindles if you want. And our guy Chunk loving the team so far. I appreciate that. I also appreciate it, guys. Go check out Drafters, drafters.com. A lot of you guys deposited over weekend, which I appreciate. If you need a break from BBMs, just trying to keep your workload going a little bit lighter, go do that. So, all right. So we have the real bet is on, no, you know what? We didn't go crazy on Seattle guys yet. I can go Caleb here on a discount. I've been taking less Caleb lately. Honestly, you could go both QBs here. All right, we'll go Caleb for one pick for sure because we already have that game stack built out. And I do struggle getting Geno Smith later in drafts, which can be a little bit tedious. Purdy here, we're in okay position at RB right now. Adding another RB in, putting in a Gus Edwards here, I think makes this team feel pretty close to done for me. But we're getting a discount on Purdy. I might as well just scoop the discount on both QBs, right? So we'll do that. We'll do that. The alternative is me. I mean, Trevor Lawrence would have been okay as well there. Don't really want to reach for Trevor Lawrence, though, when we have the discounted Caleb and Purdy. So that's the way we're going to go with it. It's a 2-3-5-1 build so far. We have Caleb and Purdy here. Purdy obviously double stacked with McCaffrey and Ayuk. We have Zach Moss, Tony Pollard as our RBs. A receiver, we have Ayuk, Evans, Kirk, Odunze, JSN, and Trey McBride. So it's a nicely built team so far. Going 2 QBs in a row in this spot does make it so we're not going to have any overpowered one position, but I think we'll feel a lot better about QB for it. Anyway, drafters.com, check it out. 17 weeks, no pods, no playoff pods, full point PPR as well. My full recommendation. Watch the last video I did on Saturday if you want to see how I handle a drafters room. We got about, I think, 5 more weeks of drafts on drafters here on stream. So get in the mix there. Drafters.com, promo code SPLASH. I'll go back to the Underdog sticker. I feel like I'm betraying Underdog when I have the drafter sticker too much up on a BBM draft. I think the Chargers would have more clarity if we knew how Roman handled more pocket passer style QBs. People probably wish casting Chargers production as a result. Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. Wow, 5 spot is the poster child of bad drafting. Are you determined what his team is going to be before the draft started? Really bad for a lot of reasons. Let's see. You went Bijan and Saquon there, reaching for Saquon, who's falling in some rooms, but he wasn't going to get him back at 29 most likely. Goes 3 RBs, or goes 3 receivers, goes 3 RBs after that. Jordan Love at 77 is pretty rough. It's a big reach. But he wanted to get the Packers double. Gets Marshawn Lloyd. The team can work. It's not great usages of draft capital. Getting a little too reachy over the course of time. Like for Calvin Ridley, that's a 25-pick flip. Jaden Reed, 12-pick flip. Hopkins, 12-pick flip. Montgomery, 7-pick flip. Love, 20-pick flip. You can't flip that many guys on ADP. You're going to end up in a bad spot. So you're right. I know I would say poster child of bad drafting, but it's a draft where the team will look okay, but could be easily duped by somebody taking these guys at their normal ADP price, as opposed to going up and getting them. Like Mooney, another 20-pick flip. He's going to have like negative 150 CLV closing line value on this, if I had to guess. Got to appreciate a good double tap QB. It feels good on the turn. It's a little cozy though, Pushing the other QB later would be good, but we have the double for Purdy, had the game stack for Chicago. How are we going to ignore it? Maybe he's doing BDLU 811 style. he's doing his version here of it. Yeah, maybe. I think he just wanted to get his players. Look, if you're putting in 5 drafts, you're putting in 10 drafts. I get wanting to get your guys, but you do want to be a little more price sensitive than this. And frankly, too, he's making the Green Bay triple without Christian Watson. I don't know. Watson can get hurt. I guess you can make that bet, but I really think that Watson you want to have as one of your top Green Bay stack options if you can. Believe in Watson's talent a lot, especially in the red zone. Hashtag. Yeah, where's the hashtag get your guys, guys? He's probably watching Pete right now. Pretty hard to get Love and 3 wide receivers, though. That's true. You would have to reach for it, but if you're doing the reaching for it amidst an entire draft of reaching for it, reach for that one thing then. Do the rest of the draft totally normal and get your Love, quote-unquote unique combo. That said, we don't know what a unique combo is yet. We still have another month and change of drafting. And let's say Jaden Reed gets hurt, or like Romeo Dobbs gets hurt. He can come down 40 spots that maybe you're easily getting, Reed, Watson, and Dobbs, or Reed, Wicks, Dobbs. Like, it's a lot of ways it could work out where that's just not a good move. But that's mostly how I'd feel about that. We've covered it enough. Hope he's one of my pods with my Packers teams. There you go. Maybe you'll get it. You're getting those guys again. If you're competing against those Packer stacks where somebody took everybody else at normal value and maybe they did the same reach as he did, just the fact they took everybody else and didn't reach 20 picks for Calvin Ridley, it's going to make everybody else's Packers teams look better. So a little bit overthinking yourself, kind of thing you do, I think, when you're a non-badge drafter and you haven't been through the ringer and know what makes you money and what costs you money, and you don't follow the data that much. Let's get to the part about Bucky being athletic and shifty. He's one of the smallest, most unathletic RBs in the. He's an RAS unathletic, which is not the same as football unathletic. He had the highest avoided tackle rate in college football last year, or one of the highest. Highest out of all the guys in the draft class. You can't be unathletic doing that. So I would say that's incorrect to say it. It's a different way to perceive athleticism for sure. But he also looked great in his drills at the combine too. He's just not. He doesn't test well because he's small and he's not fast enough to make up for it. Team is making sweet, sultry love to its enemies' haunches. There we go. I'm glad to be making love to enemy haunches as we go. All right, 2, 3, 5, 1 here. See what we get. Geno Smith goes at 143. Thank goodness I got out of the Seattle stack business. I think Cole Kmet works okay here as one of my picks. Not dying to get with the field on Cole Kmet necessarily, but I'm happy with him. He's going to be one of the picks for sure, though. And then I would say Leggett here feels okay. I might still be in the business to take Mingo later on. Josh Downs at 80. This is a huge fall for Josh Downs, though. Oh, this is not huge. Pretty big fall for Downs, though. And Downs is getting really positive steam. But I think we want Carolina correlation that matters a little bit more. So I'm going to get with the field on Downs for sure. It's just not today. But him going 9 spots after ADP when he's had the most flowery reports for the Colts, I don't get that really. I'll give the team a read though. It's a 2-3-6-2 here, so we have to get a little bit more in an RB, but I know who I want to take late for that. We have Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy as our QB options. Took them both in the turn. We have Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard here, so not really got a lot of discounts at RB, but got discounts at QB, have little minor discounts at wide receiver with Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Romo Dunze, JSN. Had to reach a little bit for him. And a little bit of a discount on Leggett, though Leggett at this point, that doesn't matter that much. McBride, Cole Kmet as our tight ends, so we feel good there. The team is pretty solidly well-rounded here. RB have to make it up a little bit later on, but as I mentioned, I think there are enough guys we could tack on that might correlate coming up in a little bit. But rather Josh Jacobs or Rashad White in a full PPR league. Honestly, neither, but Jacobs would be the pick out of those two. They both have guys coming for their spots. Both guys are going to take some workload away with Lloyd and with Bucky, respectively. So, yeah, neither is like the most thrilling pick, but they both work fine, especially if it's a redraft. Love me some Downs. Downs is solid. Look, Downs in the 120s again. I'm going to like a bit less. This is one of those drafts, too, where if I didn't want to build out a little bit of Carolina here because we have an Arizona player, because we have a Tampa Bay player in week 17, I think it would have been a lot more logical to take Downs. I think Downs is going to come up. He's just had a solid drum beat from, again, the GM talking about him, coach talking about him. Practice is going really well. Nobody else in that receiver room is getting any flowery talk at all. It's just Josh Downs. So I think that he's a little bit undervalued right now. This guy goes 3 QBs in a row here. Unstacked, it looks like. Yeah, he took Geno unstacked. Took Lawrence unstacked. No, he's got Lawrence with ATN. And I guess Metcalf. No, yeah, Metcalf with Geno. All right. Stafford unstacked, though. What does Stafford unstacked possibly do for you? Well, this is why we do these rooms. This is why you want people to make minus EV decisions around you. Even if it hurts your team a little bit, even if you get sniped, you want to look at people's teams and go, what are they possibly thinking? And we have a couple guys in this room that I think you look at their teams and go, what are they possibly thinking? Or what are they overthinking? I think that's a lot of it. But Bucky lacks in top end speed. He makes up in short air agility. I think people miss that a lot. Like, and this is obviously a different time in football. Eddie Lacy used to break long plays. Like, if you can get past that first wave of defenders, it doesn't really matter if you don't have straight line speed that much. Obviously, having straight line speed and a good scheme, Devon Achane would be the positive outcome of that. We'll see what they do with Jalen Wright this year. That's another possibility there. Chase Brown, another guy who's track fast. You give him the ball, give him some lanes. He might be able to make some stuff happen. Did in the pass game last year. But just having a guy that can miss on the first level and create maybe 1-2 misses, that's how he breaks the big plays. Like, Bucky doesn't have to be lightning fast. He just has to be shifty and avoid well. And that's shiftiness, avoid a tackle is one of the few things that, besides I think EPA does to a certain extent, but like that target per route run stuff, like those are the things that you control. So for an RB, avoid a tackle rate's like one of the most important things. He'll come down a little bit. He was at like 33% last year in college. So he's probably, 25% in the pros. He's at 34% last year, 38% on pass downs for Bucky Irving. He's shifty. The only reason Eddie Lacy broke long plays is because he saw the buffet line in the tunnel. Hey, I'd be right there with him. I get it. Ray Davis at 162 here. Again, just too cheap. People, and I've said this before, like, I feel like markets are just not attuned at all to signal that's not being shoved right in their face. Like, Ray Davis had good signal from, from basically when he got drafted. They talked a little bit about him potentially filling in for guys like Damian Harris, Latavius Murray. The team didn't expect to have back. Obviously, Harris retired. But like for Buffalo, he's had good signals the entire time. It's not making him come up. He's getting good workload in camp. He's making big plays at camp, scoring touchdowns at camp with the first team. He's not coming up. I just think people are really not. I don't know. If it's not on Roto World, if it's not something that everybody on Twitter is talking about, the market is just not as in tune with movements as it was last year. It's how I feel about it. Might be small sample size stuff, but Ray Davis to me is like egregious. Troy Franklin, good signal for him working with the first team, making big plays as well. Zach Wilson threw him a 30-yard touchdown, which kind of shocking, but it did happen. Okay. I think this is kind of a fun spot here. So we want to add the fourth RB. We know who I'm in the bag for here. Bucky's coming down. Bucky's at 181 now. Are you guys fucking kidding me? Incorrect price. Incorrect price for Bucky. I got Bucky at 159. Why is he coming down? He's with the fucking first team and he's as big as my child. It's my 2-year-old Luca. I don't get it. Anyway, we're getting the third game stack here. We don't really need it, but we have it. So why would we not? So we're going to go Baker Mayfield. We got Tampa Bay, Carolina brewing. Some stuff we might be able to get later on, though, at this point. Well, we'll see. We got Baker Mayfield, though. So third QB, don't really need the third QB, but we have 3 game stacks. When you have 3 game stacks, you capture 3 different game environments. The hope is that one of them ends up an outlier, let alone if I get 2 or 3 of them being an outlier, that'd be great. So we have Tampa Bay here added to the mix, 3-4-6-2. Caleb, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, a little bit after ADP. Could have maybe waited longer, but again, we have the bet on Mike Evans. We got Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, Bucky Irving added to the group here. 13 picks of ADP. I don't really care. The choices otherwise are these guys, which, okay. Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Romo Dunze, JSN, Xavier Leggett, and at tight end, we have Trey McBride and Cole Kmet. So could add a luxury third tight end. We're in round 15. I feel like this team is well built enough that I'm not really, I feel like we're good. I feel like we can roll into the season with this team. I wouldn't be mad at it. We still have 3 more rounds. So I'm happy with the squad. Guys, if you're watching live or after the fact, please do hit that like button and subscribe. It goes a long way here, especially on these Mondays where I'm going up against the Pete Overs at Juggernaut. Your support matters even more. If you enjoy the stream, please do let me know. Leave a comment down below. Somebody actually left me a very nice comment over the weekend. I forgot his name, so I apologize for not remembering that. But he was basically like, watched some other stream, and I guess some other streamer of note, and was like, I really want to go back and like all of your streams because of how you actually explain your picks, what you're trying to accomplish with them, why you view players in the way you do. And it meant a lot to hear. Like, that's what I meant. This is just me gambling here on stream every day, but I am trying to give you the info that I see, the things that I value the most as somebody that's been to this ringer and been creating content around the NFL for now. This is going to be year 6 for me, I guess, doing that, on a full professional level. So, and I do my best to learn more about stuff. This fucking guy, by the way, it's like Tyler Boyd at 173. I was thinking, I could add him on as a little Jacksonville, Tennessee correlation. But no, our guy who's reaching for everything in the world, he had to get Tyler Boyd. But I guess it's because he had to get Will Levis at 149. So when you're doing that, how would you not take Tyler Boyd at 173? What a bad team. But these are who we want to draft against. Anyway, nice words from that guy. And I appreciate him saying it. I'll give him the show. I'll look up the comment here. Why not? I could look up a comment. When people say nice things, we want to be nice to them back. Jeremy Parker. Shout out Jeremy Parker. Made my day to hear that yesterday. I also haven't talked, by the way, about my big issue going into the stream here. My stomach is fucking killing me. So if you guys live in the mid-Atlantic area, of course, I'm outside of Philly. Wawa is a place people love. Gas station food, elevated gas station food, really. It's a convenience store, has good sandwiches, whatever, lots of shit in there. They also have pizzas now. And I was like, I would like to try this pizza. They had a deal on DoorDash, and the wife didn't want to cook yesterday because we've been passing around toddler illnesses all weekend. So I had their pizza. Admittedly, also did have some ice cream. So we're doubling the dairy up. My stomach was the worst it has been in a while. And granted, again, I didn't do myself any favors, had a few beers, have a Wawa pizza, have some ice cream. Not a great combo, but it's Sunday. You know, what are we going to do? The worst. The pizza tastes good. It's like bar pizza. They have like some garlic crust thing that's pretty good. But holy shit, I feel ravaged in a way that I have not in a while. Was up from 2 to 4 a.m. doing what adult men do when they when their tum-tum hurts. And it was fucking the worst. So Wawa pizza, good. Wawa pizza digestive process, bad. That's how that goes. Yeah, shouting out love Jeremy. We like one Jeremy. We've got one Jeremy on the positive side. You're a ball knower. Other streamers get their takes. Some other streamers that don't think critically. I appreciate that. I mean, look, I don't know what the point of this if you're just following other people's takes is. Like, you listen to them, you consider them, they make a great point. You then make that part of what you're talking about, guys, and how you view stuff. But yeah, to me, you know, I certainly want to be the one originating the stuff rather than, you know, siphoning off of others. That's me. Let the public sleep. My Davis bags are packed and sitting by the front door. Love to hear it. I just want people to be, you know, to be in tune with markets and stuff and to be aware of like what's going on. This room has not been the case of that. Slayton at 190 feels egregious given that all the highlight plays are Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt had one catch over the weekend, which I don't think I had it in my news thing. I don't think I actually read it out. He caught a bomb where he was fully outstretched, like a play that not a lot of guys in the league can make. Hyatt's coming along quietly pretty nicely, and that's a bad thing if you're reaching for Slayton at 190. McMillan goes, who I really fucking thought we'd get back. That is upsetting. That is upsetting. Oh, this room full of buffoons. Hunter Henry just lurking here. I'm okay with that. Hunter Henry, one pick. Khalil Herbert, the other pick. We'll add one more receiver on later. We got our Hunter Henry, Khalil Herbert, increasing our Chicago bet a little bit more. Herbert, Roschon, and Swift are all in the mix for the first team. Keenan Allen had an interview over the weekend saying that he's been telling DeAndre Swift that he thinks he's, and this is the exact quote, he says, "You're looking bouncy out there. You're looking great." So Swift apparently running with some juice, at least in Keenan Allen's eyes. But that RB room seems like a split. I still think Swift's the best back there. But I think if you are making a Seattle-Chicago bet, or if you're just dead at RB, Herbert late, fine. Roschon was getting some screen passes in practice over the weekend. They're all in the mix. They're all being used to some amount, it looks like. So committee backfield, not great for Swift. Still think Swift is the best role, but it seems like Herbert and Roschon are in the mix to some amount. So obviously they're mostly contingent value, I would think, but maybe they're in the hunt to get 5 to 8 touches per game each, and then Swift's around 15-ish. I think that's a decent outcome. What you're saying is everybody's getting first team reps. Oh, is that what you said before? It's actually not the case though. Like Javon Baker's not getting first team reps. Like there's a lot of guys you could point to that aren't getting first team reps. But at this point, yeah, there's a few more guys. Like, you know, the Denver QB situation would be one you could point to where deliberately they're giving all 3 guys work. And then Peyton's like, we're going to shift it around as we go, where they're going to start to favor the guy who's more likely to be the starter, or they might shift it where 1 week Nix gets a lot of work, 1 week Sidham gets a lot of work, 1 week Zach Wilson gets a lot of work. We'll see what they do, but I think that's, yeah, like you're not wrong. But getting any first team work, though, is important. He wasn't over the weekend. He might today, but he wasn't over the weekend. Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield is the QB room right now. Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, Bucky Irving, and Khalil Herbert is the RB room. So we have the hero CMC. Obviously, you're making the bet on him at the 101. That's what should carry most of the team. And the RB room here, 5 RBs with the hero RB build feels fine. Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Romo Dunze, JSN, and Xavier Leggett. Spent a lot of capital early on here. Some correlation on top with Leggett, and we'll add one more receiver. I think this being an 8-receiver room would have felt cozier, but I think taking Hunter Henry at a 35 pick discount almost was too good to pass up when our tight end 2 is Cole Kmet. That's the team so far. Obviously expect to take receiver last here. Which receiver, though? Who knows? Is going to be available at the last pick of the draft. Mr. Irrelevant. People are victory lapping AOC getting first team reps, only to find out Minshew got the first team reps the next day. Yeah, I mean, look, I try to be careful about what I would victory lap for that stuff, but I think it's incorrect to say that everybody's getting first team reps now. It's not how teams actually flow. Morning Spags, you ever change your draft tactic mid-draft from winning the mill and just cashing because of the weight? No, never. You should never just try to cash. You want to build a team that advances in week 16 or has a better shot advancing in week 16 and you correlate for that more because that's how your team align. That's fine. At least there's like EV there just from getting to the finals. It's a pretty good EV in BBM, but no, never. You're never playing them in cash. In DFS, you should never play them in cash unless you're playing cash games. Then you play them in cash. That's not gambling then. And it's obviously different. Like if you're playing one of the survivor pools in Vegas and it's like, oh, do we want to chop when there's 10 guys left? Like, yeah, you probably want to chop then for the EV. You don't want to be that Sean Perry guy who like made everybody not chop and then ended up losing the same week anyway. Like that's theoretically the most plus EV gambling, but I think there's a point of diminishing returns when you're not just taking a profit. But I think like you don't want to assume you're going to take a profit in a best ball team because you might not take a profit anyway. Like you might not cash no matter what. So why not play for a team that has a shot to make the finals and hopefully win the finals? Well, Shipley is getting first team reps, yeah. But that might matter. So, like, again, you should pay very close attention who's getting first team reps, who's getting them and gets them taken away. But like Spiller, Vidal, those guys are not getting first team reps. So, like, it does matter. So I don't know how to tell you it more than that. It might feel like everybody's getting first team reps. It's not the case. I played the Eliminator before. I think I did one entry last year. It's not my focus. I like doing the tournaments that I feel like I know the best and that I want to invest the most time in. That's these tournaments for the most part. Jalen Hyatt goes. He would have been a cozy round 18 pick for me. Yeah, Derek Carr, JJ McCarthy, by the way, killer practice over the weekend where he threw 4 touchdowns in 5 plays in the red zone after Sam Darnold had a bad camp. That competition, I think, is more live than the New England one. At least for a week 1 starter. All right. 3-5-6-3 here. We need a receiver. I mean, Zay Jones makes sense, I think, given the fact that he's been in the mix. We have the Arizona bet. Brandon Powell, I probably need to knock down. Seems like Naylor's ahead of him. Naylor making a lot of plays in camp. I think they're both still in the hunt for wide receiver 3, but I don't think Powell's assumed anything. Zay Jones, I think, is unfortunately the pick here. Not the sexiest play. He's in the mix. We have correlation with him for 2 weeks, so we're going to do that. My 82nd BBM is in. We got Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield in this 3-5-7-3 lineup. Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, Bucky Irving, Khalil Herbert at RB. Wide receiver, we have Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Romo Dunze, JSN, Leggett, Zay Jones. Bunch of little discounts here at receiver that I hope make the team more unique. If not, though, still works for me with correlation for a bunch of different guys. Trey McBride, Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry. One thing we didn't get a bring back for is San Francisco, Detroit, but we do have game stacks, Chicago, Seattle, game stacks, Tampa Bay, Carolina. Feel good about it. Could have talked me into taking Mingo on this one just because of the positive steam, but I think Zay Jones in the hunt enough makes the team a little bit more solid. And Terrence, I got first team reps at QB in Vegas this past Saturday. The answer is just simply no. Well, apparently everybody's getting first team reps. We're to believe our guy Adam. More saying getting first team reps and running with the first team are very different IMO. Fair enough. Still think anytime you're in the mix at all, it's worth noting. Now, when that goes away or if it doesn't go away, also worth noting. There's usually a pretty pronounced team split that matters a lot. But that's what we talk about here every day. And Claypool is dead. He hurt his leg. He was fucking dead long before that. That's what I would say. Guys, subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Of course, new streams every Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m. Today, just a single header because I have a call at 12:30. And also, Pete's going live right now, and I'm sure you guys want to go watch that. So check that out. Of course, Underdog, if you haven't played Underdog yet, I don't know why. Go use it right now. Promo code SPLASH on there. Get $250 in bonus cash. Play an Underdog, please, and use my promo code. It goes a long way to support the show. Best ball overlay, if you want to get the data for BBM on the screen like I just had, week 16, week 17 matchups, your own exposures, even the point totals according to DraftKings Sports. We can get that for yourself at bestballoverlay.com. You also have some fun data tools on there to see your different stacks for week 17, your mini stacks as well. Lots of stuff that'll make you a better best ball player at bestballoverlay.com. Promo code SPLASH, get $10 off. Probably got rid of free trials over the weekend because they were getting abused. So free trials are gone. You can still get 50% off at probably.com right now using code SPLASH. Probably.com. Best sports betting data in the biz. And the real big one here, Drafters, go check them out, drafters.com. Again, we do drafts every Saturday at 11 a.m. on Drafters, and it's a nice break from BBM. If you've got a lot of entries in right now and you want to ramp down until we have more news in training camp, it's a wise move. In the meantime, play on Drafters, full point PPR, no pods, no playoff pods. Last year, I finished top 110 with only 9 entries. Had a bunch of guys in the community finishing top 100, including one finishing top 10. That's how it goes for us here, and that's what Drafters is like, just softer rooms on there. Check it out, drafters.com, promo code SPLASH. Thank you to all the fine folks who supported the channel. You too can join down below for $4.99 a month. Of course, you get my team reviews updated week, or my 10 team reviews a month for me, my rankings updated weekly with over 275 plus blurbs, 40 of which got updated this week. And then also, of course, a VIP Discord, the Squirt Squad VIP room, which I'm in. Of course, a lot of our regulars are in, providing good info. Check that out. Gamble responsibly, guys, and I'll be back tomorrow with another draft, hopefully less competition. I don't know. But either way, I'll be here doing the work. Hope you guys come back for that one. See you soon. Enjoy your days. Of course, good luck. Bye-bye.